Hello and welcome to this course on bank reconciliation, bank integration, and auto suggestions in economic. My name is Mille, and for the next 45 minutes, I'll be your guide through this course. We'll begin by taking a look at the course agenda. First, I'll briefly introduce myself. As mentioned before, my name is Mille, and I work in the support team here in economic. This means that I am one of the supporters that you can get in touch with either through the chat or over the phone if you ever need assistance with something in the program. That was a brief introduction about me, so I now think we should take a closer look at what we will be discussing in this course. This course is about the bank reconciliation, bank integration, and auto suggestions, which is exactly what we're going to look into. As mentioned, today's course revolves around our module bank reconciliation, and then we will build on top of it with extra smart features of the banking integration and auto suggestions. It is, in fact, the case that bank reconciliation forms the foundation for these two additional functions. The bank reconciliations is included in all packages. The bank integration is included in Plus, Smart, and the Advanced packages, and while auto suggestion is included in Smart and Advanced packages. This means that the majority of the course will focus on bank reconciliation as the basis, while the actual bank integration and auto suggestion will be covered towards the end of the course. First, we are going to talk about what is a bank reconciliation. So I'll introduce you to the page and what functions we have when we look in the bank reconciliation. Then we are going to start. The bank reconciliation is started up. It's not a complex setup, but we need to make sure to get off to a good start so that everything works out. Then we'll look at how to use bank reconciliation and what else it can be used for. And it may sound like I'm saying the same thing twice, but there's a big difference between how to use bank reconciliation and what else it can be used for. And I'll delve into that in more detail when we get to that point on the agenda. Then I will explain a bit about the bank integration and auto suggestion. There's a part of the bank integration that I can show you, and there's a part of the bank integration that I cannot show you, unfortunately. The reason is that I do not have like a test bank account from which I can automatically fetch transactions, which is what the bank integration do. Instead, I have prepared a file to demonstrate how to import transactions, and then we'll pretend that it came in automatically through the bank integration. After that, I'll show you auto suggestions, which is a fantastic feature that I'm excited to demonstrate to you. Finally, we'll cover the setup of the bank integration so you are prepared to set it up on your own when we are done with this course. So that is the plan for the next 45 minutes. So without further ado, let's get into it. Just move over here to economic, and let's start by going to the bank reconciliation. We do that by going to the tab accounting up here in the top, and then out here to the left we have the tab called bank, and right under we have bank reconciliation. When we enter the bank reconciliation, we first see these two sides, left side and the right side. I always refer to the left side as the economic side, while the right side I call the bank side, or we call the bank side. This is because the left side is a one-to-one image of my accounting in economic. This is where I see all the entries that affect my bank account that I have booked up in my journals. On the left side, both the booked entries and draft entries that are still in the journals will appear, meaning entries that are not yet booked still exist, but still exist in our journal will also be shown here on the left side. On the right side over here, we will see all the entries coming from our bank, including those manually imported through files, which I'll show you later, or those automatically imported through the bank integration, which we will also get back to later. So the whole idea here in the bank reconciliation is to reconcile the right and the left sides so that we know our booking, or with all the entries that we booked actually matches 100% with our actual bank. So we need the exact same entries or transactions on each side. to make sure that everything that we have booked is actually according to the reality. There's also something interesting to look at up here in the top. Up here, we can choose between two different views. The view we are looking at right now is the minimized version or the limited version, which shows me the numbers that make sense to look at in my daily use of the bank reconciliation, such as, for example, the closing balance, which we would like to be the same on both sides, which is a good to keep an eye on when we reconcile in general. I can get a more extended view by clicking on this little arrow here. Then we see that there are a lot of extra numbers that we can look at. This extended view is not typically used in your daily work in the bank reconciliation, just because there are so many numbers to take into account. However, these numbers can be very helpful if you need to troubleshoot in the bank reconciliation. For example, if I can see that something is wrong, I can make this extension. Then I have the opportunity to identify whether it's a problem with maybe the opening balance, or for example, or I can compare movements on each side to see if do I actually have the same movements on both the left and the right side. Most people do just fine with the minimized version as it shows what is most important. And I'll do that as well for today. Then we have some buttons up here at the top. In the top right corner, we choose the period we want to see in the bank reconciliation. Here we can choose both the accounting year and also the month. On the left side over here, we can choose which account we want to work with. And most people have multiple bank accounts, and we can choose between them here. If you click on the little arrow, you get the drop down menu and can choose between your different bank accounts. And this the thing with the accounts actually leads us to the next point on the agenda, which is starting the bank reconciliation or set up the bank reconciliation. There are two aspects to consider when discussing the initiation of the bank reconciliation. And the first part involves how we add multiple accounts here on the drop down menu so that we have several bank accounts to choose from and reconcile. If you selected one of our default or standard setups when you created your agreement, the bank reconciliation would be pre-configured already. Our bank account will be set to 5820, as you see here, and it would appear in the bank reconciliation ready for you to use. However, as mentioned before, most people don't sell for just one bank account. Some have two, while others have maybe around 7 or 8 different accounts. And of course, we want all of them to be shown down here in the bank reconciliation. So, to add extra accounts here in the bank reconciliation, we actually need to go to the journal up here. So we go up here. I'll just go into my daily or daily, and then we have to go into other options and journal setup. This is because the journal and the bank reconciliation are connected, so any changes made to the journal setup will also affect the bank reconciliation. As you can see here, under my cash accounts, we have a 5820 already set up. It was also 5820 that we could choose down in the bank reconciliation, and it's the one we can see up here. If I'll just move this, it's also the one we can see up here in the top of the journal. Furthermore, we can see that there's a space, there's a space for 2 more accounts, which are not filled in at the moment. Here we can choose our additional bank accounts and place them here in the cash accounts. As soon as I have filled these in, we can see them both in the journal and in the bank reconciliation. So let's try to do that. I have an additional bank account, which is my Sydbank account. I choose this one for cash account 2. And for cash account 3, I also have my Nykredit account as well. Then we press save down here at the bottom. You can see that it has updated up here on the top of the journal that we now can see all 3 of my bank accounts. And if we go down to the bank reconciliation once more, we can click on the little arrow and you can tell that now I can choose between the other 2 bank accounts as well. If you're now thinking that you have more than 3 bank accounts that you'll like to include, just proceed to the next journal up here, and we can go to the next one and add the other accounts up here to these cash accounts. You can see that I have 3 available, and I can put in 3 different bank accounts if I would like. And then, of course, if I have more, I can move on to the next one and include 3 more here. So just from the journals alone, we can include 9 different bank accounts to appear in the bank reconciliation. Another method to add more bank accounts to the bank reconciliation is by creating them under the tab down here called Bank Accounts. Here I press New Bank Account. I choose my bank up here, which is Danske Bank. Type in my sort code and account number. And then we also have to choose an account from our chart of accounts. So in here, I have to go and choose my fourth account for my fourth bank account. And that is, of course, 5823. And then I press save. Now it is created, and I could go back to bank reconciliation. And then press on this little arrow, and you can see all 4 is now present and ready to be reconciled in the bank reconciliation. The second part of the setup is about our opening balance. And the opening balance is about informing e-conomic what the balance on my bank account is on the day I start using the bank reconciliation. There is one case where the opening balance is correct from the start and you don't need to enter app opening balance. This is if you have a brand new startup and start from scratch in e-conomic. Where you might need to adjust the opening balance is, for example, if you have been using e-conomic for some time, but a few months or years after starting e-conomic up, you decide to use the bank reconciliation. Another case could be if you are moving to e-conomic from another accounting system. Typically, you have an accountant or bookkeeper who is entering these opening balances as the first thing. And the opening balance also needs to be entered here to start smoothly with the bank reconciliation. To enter the opening balance, I need to go up here to this little gray gear icon in the upper right corner. Here I have a tab that is called Setup Opening Balance. So if we imagine that I want to start using my bank reconciliation of maybe the 1st of December, then I need to check on my bank account on the 30th of November to see what the closing balance is on the day before, actually, or on the month before that I actually want to start up. I then enter the closing balance here in the field balance, and the start date should be the year, maybe 2023, and the month December if I wanted to start up from the 1st of December 2023. This way, the system automatically knows that the opening balance on the 1st of December is the same as the balance we had on our bank on the last day of November. You can start up the bank reconciliation whenever you want, but it has to be from the 1st of a month. There is also no requirement to start the bank reconciliation in the month that you actually started using e-conomic. So if I have been a customer in e-conomic for years, but it's just now I want to use the bank reconciliation, I don't have to go back all the way to the start. I can just start here from the 1st of December, for example, or whatever month that you would like. You don't need to go back to the start, and as long as you just make sure to type in the opening balance of the month that you actually want to start using the bank reconciliation. Good. Now that we have initiated the bank reconciliation, it is ready for use. Therefore, let's look at how we actually use the bank reconciliation. I have already booked a lot of entries in my economic. I want to display the entries related to my bank. The way I do that is by clicking on this little red icon, or some call it a red link, but we keep it at red icon. When I have the red icon activated, the bank reconciliation shows the entries and transactions that are not reconciled. When our page is blank, as right now, it means that we don't have any entries or transactions that are not reconciled. If I click on this little red icon, it turns green, and then it will show me everything that is reconciled. And you can see there's a lot of entries that I have booked in my economic, because this is the left side, the economic side. So this is what I have actually booked from my journals that are showing here on the left side, and they are all reconciled, as you can tell by this little green icon to the right of the entry. What I'm doing now is undoing the reconciliation on a single entry, but let me just show here. Let's click this one on as well. Now we can see that I both have my bank transactions here on the right side, and of course my booked entries here on the left side, and they are all reconciled. If I want to see what is matched with each other, I can just click on one of the entries or one of the transactions. It will then turn orange and show me which transaction or entry it is matched with on the opposite side. What I will be doing now is undoing the reconciliation on a single entry here. We can do that by just clicking or check mark each of the entries or each of the transactions, and then click up here on undo. We can see that the green link disappears to the right of the entry because it is no longer reconciled. If I change my view up here at the top, so I activate the red icon on both sides, the entry will appear because it is now an unreconciled entry as well as the bank transaction here on the right side. Let's do the same thing again, undoing the reconciliation on all entries, so we can start over with the reconciliation. So I'll just mark everything all the way down and then press undo, and then it will unmatch everything. There we go. The reason I'm doing this is partly to show you how to undo a reconciliation, because mistakes can happen and you might want to undo it. The other part of it is that I want to emphasize that what you do here in the bank reconciliation and the reconciliations or undoing of reconciliations has no effect on the entries that we have in our journal, whether they are booked or not. And it also has no effect on what you have recorded on your customers and suppliers. So you can confidently undo a reconciliation and start over without causing any issues. That is important for me to say. I'm going to show you two forms of reconciliation, namely manual reconciliation and automatic reconciliation. When I do the manual reconciliation, I am the one in charge, and it's me who tells the system which entries on both the right and the left sides should be reconciled with each other. I simply start by finding one entry here on the left side. It could be this one, which I mark, and then I locate the corresponding entry on the right side, which is this one. And then we can see I get this little blue button up here on the left that says approve, and we can press that one. Then it will tell me that the entries have been reconciled. Then I just do this all the way down until there are no more entries. In manual reconciliation, I can easily mark multiple entries and reconcile them with each other. Once I have marked the two entries, we can see, let's take another one, this one, and this one as well. Once I have marked the two entries, we can see in our overview how much I have selected in value and whether it matches. If I were to mark one more entry, for example, this one, it would create a difference up here in the selected entries difference, and I could adjust accordingly. In addition, the system will also display an error message if I try to reconcile them. Let's try down here. Since they don't balance and they don't match, so the amounts on each side must match 100% before they can be reconciled. When the difference is at 0, I just remove this one. You can see that the selected entries difference is at 0. Then I have the option to press approve up here on the left, and the entries are reconciled with each other. So in this way, I can continue all the way down until hopefully all entries are reconciled. Therefore, we always aim to have the bank reconciliation completely blank on both sides when the red icon is activated. And when the green icon is activated, we want to see all of our reconciled entries. The other way I can do this is by doing an automatic reconciliation. So let me just undo these two. So we are back to the starting point. There we go. Good. Automatic reconciliation basically means that I get the system to do the reconciliation for me, so I don't have to sit and mark each individually entry all the way down. I have this button up here called Auto Reconcile, and here the system will look at the dates and the amounts. It will only reconcile entries with the exact same date and exact same amount. If there's any deviation, even down to the cents or one single day, then the system will not automatically reconcile the entries. It has to be 100% identical. Now, I have two entries on both the left and the right side called Telenor. They actually have the same amount on all four entries, as you can tell, but they had different dates. So now I'll play around with the system a bit and manually reconcile two entries that actually have different dates. But because I reconcile manually, it will be okay. So if I take one from Telenor here on the 8th and one from the 9th and reconcile these two with each other, this is totally fine for the system because the only demand when I do manual reconciliation is that the amount will go to 0. So I'll approve this one, leaving the two other Telenor which are on two different dates, but still on the same amount. This means that when I, in a bit, will auto reconcile, it will leave these two other Telenor entries untouched since they are not 100% identical in terms of the date. Additionally, the system will also leave something else, but we can take a look at that in a minute. So let's try to auto reconcile, and the system will match or reconcile whatever it thinks fit according to the amount and on the dates. Let's try. It removed a lot of them or reconciled a lot of them, but some has remained, and that is of course the Telenor, as I just mentioned before, and that is of course because of the dates are not 100% the same. Additionally, the system also leaves these two entries untouched, as well as this one on the right side. This one, I made an error in my bookkeeping. I had recorded this sales from the store here with the wrong sign here in front. I booked it as minus, but it had to be plus. But I corrected it with this entry down below here. So if I now mark all three of them, we take all three of them over here. You can see here in the selected entries difference, it goes to 0. So all of these three entries actually reconcile with each other. But because the amounts are not 100% identical, automatic reconciliation will not work in this case and will have to help the system a bit instead. So I can easily approve these three, and I can also easily approve the two Telenor with manual reconciliation. Now I'll just undo the reconciliation once again. So let's mark all of them and press undo. There we go. So we are back to the starting point that we had before. Here I'm reconciling the two Telenor entries as well, as one from the 8th and one from the 9th, and approve these once again so that we are back to the exact same setup as we were before. I want to show you something else regarding the setup here that I actually skipped before. Here up in the gray gear icon, we can give e-conomic a bit of flexibility up here in the top. Here we have the option to give some flexibility on the days. If you think that e-conomic can automatically reconcile entries where there are a few days in between, we can actually set it up here. The good thing about this function is that we can always adjust it along the way. So if I have set it to 5 days to try it out and find out that that this actually doesn't work very well for me, we can easily go in and adjust it to a lower number of days, then undo the reconciliation, and then try again. It's fantastic that we can set the number of days down, undo the reconciliation, and then start over again. It's not more complicated than that. Furthermore, I also have this option down here where I can allow multiple bank statements entries or allow several bank statement entries to one cash account entry. And here we should remember that the bank entries are the one we see over here on the right side. This means that I can allow one or more entries on the right side to be reconciled with one entry on the left side. Similarly, I can allow several cash accounts entries to one bank statement entry. That is one or more entries over here on the left side to be reconciled with one entry over here on the right side. In my case, this button one makes a lot of sense as I had the example from before, the one you can see here in the background, where I had the two entries on the left side that I wanted to reconcile with one on the right side. So I'll just check this for now and then say save. So now I've given some flexibility in the sense that the date doesn't have to be 100% identical, but can deviate by 2 days. And I have allowed the system to reconcile multiple entries on the left side with one entry on the right side. So now when I press auto reconcile, we can see that the system should reconcile everything. So let's try. And there we go. We can see that the sides are now empty. And if I activate the green icon, we can see all of the entries as well as the transactions all reconciled, all due to the auto reconciliation. What we are going to look at now is how we can use the bank reconciliation in other ways. Now that we have covered the basics of the bank reconciliation, we can start building on top of it. That means I'll just jump into another month of up here where I have something prepared for us. Actually, I have to get into January here. Yeah. We've just gone through how, through automatic reconciliation in economic, we can avoid the old method where you had your accounting on one piece of paper and then your bank statement on another, marking each side with highlighters. And to make it even more adventurous, we can use the bank reconciliation for even easier and faster accounting. It is possible to import your bank statement or bank transactions either by manual importing files or by having economic fetch transactions automatically into the right side of the bank reconciliation. So we thought it would be super smart if we could utilize these files a bit more, and that is exactly what we'll be looking at now. First, I'll start by importing a file. There are two advantages to this. For those of you who don't think you'll use the bank integration, you can see how to manually import a bank file to get some data over here on the right side for you to work with. For those of you thinking of using the bank integration, follow along and shortly we'll build on top of it looking at the auto suggestions, a feature that comes with the smart and advanced packages as well. I'll start by importing my CSV file. It's essential that it is a file in the CSV format because that's the only format that Economic accepts. So when you're downloading your bank statement from your bank, make sure to get it in the CSV format, also known as a semicolon separated file. So I simply click up here on import CSV file, and then I click on choose file. It opens up my computer and we choose the right file here and then says load file. There we go. Now we have the file here in the first image where we need to match the data. At the top of the image, we see our source file. That is the file that I just imported from my computer. At the bottom of the image, we see our import file. So the whole idea here is that we have our source file up here, and we now need to tell Economic where it finds different data in our source file so that it can be imported correctly. Before we get into matching the data, let's take a look up here at the top. It is crucial to look at this one called skip the lines. Here we have the option to skip the lines in our source file that should not be imported. That is, for example, the lines that we want the system to ignore. It could be, for example, the first line here in my source file, which contains the headings of the various categories. We don't want these headings imported as entries, so we changed the number up here, or make sure that it will skip the line number 1. But of course, I can change it if there are other lines that I wanted to ignore as well. Additionally, we have this one over here called allow duplicates. And now I'll just minimize the window so we can see both the import window as well as the entries that we actually already have been imported over here. As you can see, these two entries are already present. These two top ones are already in my bank reconciliation. So if I check this allow duplicates, um, these two entries will appear twice. If I do not check the allowed duplicates, the system will detect that and think, okay, hey, these two entries already exist, so we want to import them again. So in this way, I do not need to set and clean up my bank file each time and remove any duplicates. The system can do it for me if I just remember not to check the allowed duplicates box. In some cases, it makes sense for the same entry to appear multiple times. So if that's the case, you should check the box of course. Now let's try to match the data up. For example, if we look at the data here, we need to tell economic where it can find the column with the dates in my source file. So it says we want to know where do you have the date in your source file. I look up here and can see the dates are located under column 1. So I'll make sure that in the line that says load from, I choose column 1. We do the same thing for the text. We want to know where can I find the text in your source file. The text is under column 2. So we choose that in the load from, and so forth. The same with the amount. The amount is located under the column 3, so I of course choose column 3 in the amount. When everything looks right, I am ready to press import data. Then I get a little confirmation telling me that 7 bank statement entries were loaded, but 2 already existing bank statement entries were not imported because we didn't allow the duplicates. I say close here. And we can tell that I got a lot more data in here, but I only got these 2 once because we didn't check the allow duplicates box. Now it's all about easy and fast accounting from here. As we saw earlier, I already had these 2 entries that were both imported, but they are also booked in economic, as you can see over here on the left side. So before we make our smart and fast booking, it's crucial to start by reconciling. This is simply to ensure that we do not end up booking the same entries multiple times. So I'll start by reconciling automatically as we just learned. So these 4 entries are out of the way. There we go. If I now mark all of the entries over here to the right and press transfer, you can see that I get an error down here at the bottom because we can't transfer reconcile entries to the journal. So there's also a safety net to prevent double booking if we remember to reconcile along the way. That means remember to auto reconcile and then activate the red icons on each side so we only get the data that is not reconciled at the moment. Then we mark all of them once again and then say transfer up here. This view actually means that, or it tells me that we have our bank entries over here on the right side for which we do not have a match on the left side. It means that we need some booking that matches our bank entries so that they can be reconciled. One could manually go to the journal and create them, but here I'll show you a much faster method. We do that by marking our entries once again over here and then press transfer up here. Then we get a new image somewhat resembling a journal where we have to make our posting or bookings. If you have the smart or advanced packages, you get this blue button up here called auto suggestions. If you do not have a smart or advanced package, but maybe the basic or plus package, you'll do the following. You have to go down here in the lines and decide on the type of entry. first of all, decide on the type of entry, whether it's a journal entry, supplier payment, or a customer payment. Here you can choose between. Then choose the account it should be booked on. When you have chosen all the way down, then we can press transfer to journal, and it will be in the journal ready to be booked. If you are a lucky potato and you have the smart or advanced package, and then you of course have the auto suggest that I just mentioned before. And I'll just demonstrate this for you now. So if I click on auto suggestion, it will provide suggestions on how the system thinks the various entries should be booked. If there are any entries for which the system cannot find a suggestion, it will leave the field empty as this one right here. And I will have to help the system a bit by manually adjusting the entry type and account as well. So just type in the account like that. Auto suggestion always look at the least or at the latest 1000 booked entries and base its suggestions on that. Here it will examine the text and check if the three most recent entries with the same text have been booked to the same account and type. If they have, the system will propose a similar booking. If not, auto suggestion will not propose anything because it always quality tests to avoid errors in the accounting. Therefore, you are not guaranteed a suggestion for every time, for every entry every time. It depends a lot on what you have previously booked. However, also suggestions continuously improve the more we book on the same text type and account. So at the top of the image as well, we can choose which journal the entry should be transferred to, as well as which entry numbers it should be used for the entries as well. Here I typically makes a lot of sense to use the continuous numbers, so the system takes the next available entry number in the respective journal. Then all that's left is to go through it and check that the suggestions it has given make sense. The fun thing is down here that it also can figure out if the bank transaction is a customer payment out from the text. So because I have stated or the customer has stated the invoice number, it knows which invoice to match it with, as well as which customers, because the customer name is also written in the text, and then it can match these up, which is very smart. When everything has been checked and I'm happy with the suggestions and how the booking looks, I press down here on transfer to journal. What we see now is a totally blank bank reconciliation, what was exactly what we were aiming for. If we press the green icon or activate the green icons, we can see that all of our bank entries have been reconciled with the draft entries that we have just created, and they now appear when I turn on the green icon as well. If we look up here in the journal, we can see that all of our entries are listed, and we still have the option to make corrections if we notice any errors. When everything is ready, we can book the entries from here as well. So by using the bank reconciliation in this way, we avoid a lot of manual work, making the process much faster and more safe because we are looking at the bank reconciliation or the bank transactions all the way. The last thing I want to show you is how to set up your bank integration so that it automatically fetches your bank transactions 4 times a day. The way to do this is by going up here to the orange gear icon, then go to all settings. And then down here in the integrations, we have the bank integrations as well. Then we come to this screen where we can press start setup. And then we are redirected to Aya. And Aya are our partner on the bank integration. They are the ones that fetch your bank transactions in your bank and then leave them in the bank reconciliation in economic. Then we see, there we go. Then we enter this window where we need to choose our bank, and all Danish banks are listed here, so you can search for them as well. These are just the major ones, but I can of course search, and then a lot of other banks comes up as well. Then I will choose my bank, press on this one, and I'll have to choose which login method I want to use. And then it will send me over to my bank where I have to log in with MitID and all of that jazz, as you might as well know. And then it will be hooked up. After that, you need to choose which accounts to transfer the bank transactions from, and it goes from there. If you are in any doubt about how to do this, we have a guide on this as well. Bank integration upsetting bank integration. If you just type in bank integration and then choose this one called Kom godt i gang med bank integration through Aya, then you have a whole guide on how to set up the bank integration. It is in Danish. If you want to translate it to English, you can click on the right side of your mouse and then choose translate to English, and then it will translate to English. So it will be so you can understand what is written here on the side, and then use this guide when you are setting up the integration as well. And of course, that actually concludes this course. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that it was helpful to you. If you have any questions regard anything that we have covered today or anything else, you are always welcome on the support on these options that are listed on the screen. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.